Good morning. 97.1. Jim Costa, John Jansen, Heather Park, Gov and Greg behind the glass on a Wednesday. Game day eve. Lions Cowboys tomorrow night. Thursday night football. It's now or never, man. It's December. Got to find the extra gear or the season's over. But, John, you can already feel a sea change. Can we say the honeymoon is over? Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, the honeymoon is over.
So the initial euphoria of the relationship, and now it all comes down to hard work of making everything last and be successful.
Making sacrifices. Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the honeymoon was going to end at some point, no matter what.
Yeah, we weren't going to be kicked up in Maui for forever.
Right. And so, yeah, and not everything is going to always go as according to plan. Guys are going to get hurt. You know, draft picks aren't going to work out. And all of those things are what we're dealing with now, along with mistakes along the way, things that we think are mistakes. And the way that we will know that the Lions feel their mistakes is if they go out this offseason and address some of the needs that seem to be obvious to us. One of them, offensive line. Now, I'll start with there. And Frank Ragnow retires, does it after the draft, does it after free agency. All right, your backs are against the wall. How do you find a way to make it work? Well, they're using Graham Glasgow, and you're trying to find other things. They were hoping maybe Ratledge could take over that position, and you put Graham Glasgow at a center or at a guard position. That didn't happen. I don't know what the ultimate goal for Ratledge is. Is he going to be the center? That's how Frank started his career, as at guard, then moved to center. He was all-pro center. I don't expect Ratledge to be all-pro at either. I think there's potential. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the potential is that high. But if they sit there and go, you know what, hey, we were not as good as we needed to be up front, so let's go in free agency and find ourselves the next Zeitler. Find ourselves, maybe they have to go to the draft.
A veteran stopgap would have been nice, or a higher pick a year earlier to stay ahead of this.
If they start addressing those issues, then they don't have to come out and verbally say, oh, we made a mistake.
No, but if you're going to do the receipts routine, I do need a little bit of a mea culpa.
Sure. And then and maybe at the end, hey, we just weren't good enough up front. That's okay. We all agree. The one that I struggle with is all offseason we talked about somebody opposite Aiden Hutchinson, and we all had our moments of, dreaming of whether it was Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson. Like, those were somewhat pipe dreams, understandably so. But could you have found a way to get somebody that is much more reliable and much more productive opposite Aiden Hutchinson? And then to hear throughout the entire offseason, like when we talked to Brad, like, I don't even understand the question. Why are you asking this question?
Yeah, and then even when we brought up helping Aiden, he's like, well, nobody really has two elite guys. And I even tried to clarify, no, I understand that, but like just somebody who can win one-on-one more consistently. Joey Bosa, Von Miller, these are longer in the tooth vets that would have jumped at the chance to join a contender. Are they every down players? No, but do they help you situationally? Can they get to the quarterback and win one-on-ones? Yes, but those thoughts aren't even in Brad's mind. Those questions don't even need to be asked. Well, that's going to make people very mad when they start to watch this team struggle to hit the quarterback, when you can't speed up quarterbacks. That's going to be rattling around people's brains, going, why didn't he take this seriously enough? Why are the fans right? We shouldn't be right. We don't have all the information. Yet in this instance, the fans were right. They needed to do more on that defensive front. And fans were right. I remember that 2024 draft in Detroit. We talked about beefing up the offensive line, staying a step ahead of this. They didn't, and now they're paying the cost for it. John, as we ask about the honeymoon being over, it's a question about how you view these guys. Brad Holmes, Executive of the Year. At the same time, the easy part's done. The easy part is when you first show up and it's Noah's Ark and you need two of everything. And you just need to find talent. And you're picking at the top of the draft. Well, now you're picking at the bottom of the draft. And you don't have a need of two of everything. You have very specific targeted needs. And when you don't do needs, you leave needs unfilled.
Well, so was defensive line a need?
Yeah.
So they took the first-round pick with Tyreek Williams, especially with Ali McNeil being down. We thought longer, but he ended up, that was a need.
No, but he famously says, I don't do needs.
Okay.
Brad, you're going to have to cop to it a little bit then. Either you do need things or you don't. Don't double speak with people.
So early on, there was a need everywhere. So whenever you pick something, you're like, he's filling a need.
Yes.
And there's different ways to manufacture not admitting you're taking a need, but getting the best player available at that time. Like Terrion Arnold, right? It's being able to trade up, and whether or not he's worked out, that's not the discussion here. We knew that corner was a need in that draft. Mm-hmm. And they made it so that the pick that they were picking at, not only was it the best corner available or the best pick available at that time on the Detroit Lions board, we also heard it was the best available on other boards. So he ends up manufacturing, we're going to draft at this spot so that we could take the best player available. Oh, it just happens to be a corner.
Well, I would say line was also a need, and they didn't address it till the 6th round. And Mahogany's played very little. They have not addressed the needs in the trenches adequately. And maybe it's from a philosophy of we don't draft for need. We're positionless villains. We take whoever we want that's good football players. And that works early. It doesn't work when you get closer to the Super Bowl, and there are very specific things that have to be addressed.
So, yes, I agree with you. And I'm not just solely trying to defend Brad. It's what this sounds like. But I'm just saying, was there a need at defensive line? And we'll talk about last year's draft. Yeah. Yes. Was there a need at offensive line? What did they do with the second round?
Ratledge. Yes.
All right. So they were doing it. Where I have an issue is they don't seem to. They did with Zeitler in free agency. But where was the addition of you can't just rely on drafting?
Yeah.
You have to then be able to acquire pro-ready players, pro players with experience. And you do that through free agency, and you do it through trades.
The other thing that they did, they sat on cap space to roll it over and keep their own for, quote, sustainable success. That's not an opinion. That's what they did. But this idea of being more conservative and not using the money now as a means of sustained success is a myth. The Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2017. They've won 2 Super Bowls in that time and had 1 losing season. Howie Roseman doesn't build for sustained success. He's aggressive. Les Snead with the Rams, F them picks. In the F them picks era, how many losing seasons do they have? Has it really come back to bite them? They had 1 losing season in that time. So you doing it the sustained success way just translates to we aren't going to go all in while everybody else does, and they're still going to have 4, 5, 6, 7 cracks at this thing, but they're going to do it more aggressively, more urgently, and now you're paying the piper for it. So yeah, the honeymoon's over. This is not acceptable where the Lions are 2 games out of a playoff spot. Forget about division titles and Super Bowls. They're 2 games out of a playoff spot.
And when I talk about GMs, whether they verbally admit to a mistake or they don't, Howie Roseman, I think, is one guy that we always look to. How is he doing it? And when you draft Jalen Reagor and it doesn't work out, what does he do? He trades for A.J. Brown. All right, so you made a mistake. How are you going to account for that one? Well, we're going to have to spend a little draft capital, and we're going to have to go get ourselves a number 1 receiver. When you win a Super Bowl and you lose guys in free agency, which inevitably happens, then you've got to figure out, okay, we went into the season and we lost the edge of our defense. We're not playing the way that we are. We're not pressuring quarterbacks that we need to. So what are we doing? Well, we go and we make a trade deadline.
It's 97-1.